Did you feel it? That subtle, eerie weight in the air as the sun rose, like the atmosphere itself was pressing gently against your skin, not to alarm you, but to alert you. As if the earth, in all its spinning chaos, decided to slow just long enough for you to hear something you've been ignoring for too long. A sensation that time wasn't running out, but was pausing gracefully for you to catch up with yourself. Because this is no ordinary morning. This is April 1st, 2025. And what you stepped into the moment your eyes opened wasn't just a new day. It was a corridor of ancient cosmic design, a gateway only opened when the universe aligns in just the right way, as it does now. Right now, the moon is waxing in Taurus. But don't let that phrase pass by like a horoscope headline. This is no small thing. The waxing moon means growth, emergence, the seed beneath the soil beginning to push upward. And Taurus? Taurus is earth in its purest form, not the kind you trample on mindlessly, but the kind that holds you when everything else collapses. Taurus energy is not interested in speed. It has no concern for how fast you get somewhere. It doesn't care how many milestones you hit this week, how many deadlines you chase, how many validations you're seeking from the world outside. Taurus is ancient rhythm, the sound of a heartbeat when everything else is silent, the stillness inside you that you've been running from. And today, under this Taurus moon, you are being called back to that, not with noise, but with the deepest kind of silence, the kind that invites you not to speak, but to feel. Your body is already responding, even if your mind hasn't caught up. That strange ache in your chest, that craving for comfort, real comfort, not distraction. That fatigue that no amount of caffeine seems to fix. That pull toward nature, simplicity, touch, warmth. It's all Taurus. It's all the moon. It's all the earth whispering to you through your own nervous system. You've been sprinting, haven't you? Chasing things that disappear the moment you reach for them, running from a sense of stillness that makes you uncomfortable. But Taurus does not chase. Taurus creates, it stays, it commits, it builds with patience layer by layer until what it holds becomes unshakable. And the moon today, it's asking you to remember that truth, to ask yourself not what you're chasing, but what you're creating. What are you actually building? And is it solid? Or is it made of noise and speed and the illusion of movement? Because Taurus won't be fooled. It doesn't fall for pretty distractions. It asks for roots, it asks for truth, it asks for peace that's not borrowed from others, but grown from within. And here's the deeper secret, the one most people miss when they talk about astrology. Taurus isn't passive, it's powerful, but its power doesn't roar, it doesn't demand attention. Its strength is quiet, steady, immense, like a mountain that doesn't need to prove it's a mountain. And when the moon grows through Taurus, as it does now, it brings that mountain inside you. It asks you to stand taller, not because the world is watching, but because you remember who you are when no one is. So breathe, not a shallow breath, a full one, the kind that fills your ribs and softens your jaw. The kind you only take when you've remembered that you're not in a race, that not everything is meant to be conquered, some things are meant to be nurtured. That includes your dreams, that includes your body, that includes your peace. This is not the day to keep pushing. This is the day to get honest, to feel your feet on the floor and ask, where am I standing? What am I standing for? And is this the life I'm truly meant to build, or just the one I've been surviving? Because when the moon speaks through Taurus, it doesn't do so with fireworks. It does so through resonance, through stillness, through moments that feel like déjà vu, through small signs that something sacred is trying to return to you, something you buried beneath busyness, expectation, comparison. But it's not lost. It's still there, waiting for you to stop, to notice, to remember. You might have already felt it. Your emotions aren't rushing like they used to. They're moving slower, deeper, not like fleeting streams that disappear as quickly as they come, but like wide rivers that carry the weight of seasons, of stories, of memory. This shift in rhythm is not a glitch in your system. It's not a sign that something is wrong. It's a message, a call. The Taurus Moon is pulling on your inner waters, asking you to come home to yourself, to stop escaping, to feel what you've pushed away, and most importantly, to stabilize what's been wobbling inside you. Taurus doesn't beg for your attention. It doesn't overwhelm you with emotion. Instead, it gently, steadily calls you inward, to restore, to repair, to replant. It invites you to return to your center, not with panic, not with urgency, but with sacred intention. To tend to the places that have cracked under pressure, to revisit the foundations you've neglected while trying to keep up with the world's noise. This energy is not here to scold you. It's here to nourish you, slowly, deeply, truthfully. And while the moon in Taurus grounds your emotional body, there's something even more ancient unfolding above you. A celestial passage that happens quietly, but never without meaning. Tonight, the waxing crescent moon slips past the Pleiades, the seven sisters, a star cluster older than our memory, but never forgotten. Cultures across every continent have told stories about this formation for thousands of years, from the Greeks to the Maori, from the Mayans to the Cherokee, from Egypt to Japan. The Pleiades have been known, named, and revered. They're not just points of light in the sky. They're symbols, portals, frequencies. For a brief moment, the moon will glide across their light, concealing them just long enough to activate a deeper remembering in you. This isn't about spectacle. It's not about what you can see with your eyes. It's about what you feel in your blood. The Pleiades aren't a trend in astrology. They're embedded in the collective soul of humanity. And when the moon dances with them, as it does tonight, something ancient stirs inside every being who dares to pay attention. You may feel this as a surge of emotion that seems to come from nowhere, a memory that returns without warning, a sudden wave of tenderness or sadness or awe. This is your soul responding. Because the Pleiades don't speak to your conscious mind. They speak to the part of you that existed before words, before culture, before fear. They vibrate through your nervous system like a song you forgot you knew. They don't ask for understanding, they ask for presence. Tonight, if you're wondering why certain emotions feel louder, more insistent, understand that they're not random. They are signals. You're receiving frequencies that bypass logic entirely. They're not here to be decoded. They're here to be felt. You may not know where the feeling is coming from. You don't need to. Your soul knows. Your ancestors know. Your body knows. What you feel right now is real, even if it doesn't make sense. There's no need to resist it. You're not being pulled backward. You're being pulled inward. The past that's resurfacing isn't trying to trap you. It's trying to release you. Let it speak. Let it rise. Let it soften the parts of you that have been hardened by survival. You don't need to figure it out. You just need to breathe through it. Taurus doesn't fix things with speed. It heals them with attention, with steady care, with unwavering presence. As the moon passes over the seven sisters, it temporarily hides them from view, but only to awaken something deeper in your perception. You're not losing them. You're meeting them from another dimension of self. This brief occlusion is symbolic of how memory works. Sometimes what we can't see is what holds the most power. Sometimes the truths we forget are the ones that liberate us when they return. This is that moment. Even if you're not consciously tuned into the sky, your spirit is, your heart is, your lineage is. The gravitational pull between the moon and the Pleiades doesn't just affect the tides, it affects your emotional atmosphere, and right now it's inviting you to re-enter a forgotten dialogue with your own soul. This is a sacred reunion, a moment between you and the parts of yourself that have waited patiently for acknowledgement. Your dreams may become more vivid. Your cravings might shift, less for stimulation, more for safety. You may feel more sensitive to sound, to light, to energy. That's because your system is recalibrating to a truth that can't be spoken, only embodied. Your ancestors are closer tonight, not in a mystical sense of fantasy, but in the very real encoding of your DNA. You are built from their survival, their pain, their wisdom, and that legacy is being stirred right now. Let yourself feel it without judging it. Don't rush to explain your tears. Don't try to quiet the emotions that rise. Don't demand clarity where all that's needed is permission to feel. This isn't a performance. This is an initiation into softness, into memory, into truth, into the part of you that remembers you are not separate from the earth, from the stars, from the past, or from the energy that flows between all living things. This moon, these stars, this night, they are not outside of you. They are in you. And when you stop trying to interpret them with your mind and let them speak through your senses, you will feel the shift, not as a dramatic revelation, but as a quiet homecoming, a knowing without knowing, a return. And tonight, as the sky deepens, something unmistakable stirs above you. The moon, still carrying the grounding presence of Taurus and the resonance of the Pleiades, reaches toward Jupiter. This isn't just an astrological event, it's a vibrational turning point. Jupiter isn't subtle, it never has been. It arrives like a deep breath you didn't know you were holding, the magnifier, the expander, the teacher. When Jupiter meets the moon, everything you feel, everything you think, everything you hope for echoes louder through the fabric of the cosmos. The universe is listening, not in metaphor, but in energy. Right now, your internal dialogue has never been more potent. The thoughts you allow to circulate in your mind are not just private musings. They are blueprints being projected outward into the energetic field. Jupiter doesn't just hear your beliefs, it amplifies them, it reflects them, it sends them spiraling back to you in ways that manifest through emotion, synchronicity, and momentum. What you're choosing to believe right now is shaping the next arc of your personal evolution. And this isn't about surface-level affirmations, it's about the roots of your beliefs, the things you've told yourself when no one else was listening, the quiet assumptions you've held about your worth, your limits, your capacity for joy or success. All of it is being magnified. The seeds are in your hands tonight, and Jupiter is the fertile soil. But the quality of what grows is determined by the vibration you place into that soil. Fear will root just as deeply as faith. Doubt will expand just as powerfully as trust. This moment is sacred because it is neutral. It doesn't pick for you. It simply gives you the power to choose. You might feel it as a paradox, a strange inner tension, a calm that feels unnatural, an urgency that doesn't yet have a direction, a knowing that something is rising within you, and yet you're not quite sure what shape it will take. That feeling is the truth. That's what recalibration feels like. It's not confusion. It's clarity waking up inside a body that has been surviving on old wiring. Jupiter doesn't bring gentle upgrades. It brings expansion that demands presence. That desire you've been brushing aside, the one that didn't make logical sense, the one that felt too big or too inconvenient to honor, it's louder now. Not because it suddenly became easier to attain, but because your resistance to it is no longer compatible with who you're becoming. Plans that once felt safe now feel too small. Roles you once clung to now feel misaligned. Timelines you once accepted now feel too delayed. This is not chaos. This is you outgrowing what no longer fits. The moon in Taurus reminds you to stay grounded in truth. Jupiter meeting that moon asks you to reach beyond the limits of who you've been told you are. Together they don't demand action, they require alignment. Not hustle, not control, just truth, raw, unfiltered, soul-deep truth. What do you want to believe about yourself? Not because you're trying to manifest something, but because you are finally ready to meet your life as it actually is, not as you've been conditioned to expect it to be. Today is not a day of answers. It's a mirror. A moment where the universe holds up a reflection, not of what the world sees, but of what you've hidden. The distance between where you are and who you're meant to become is no longer abstract. It's real. It's in your body. It's in your thoughts. It says in that quiet ache that wants to go away, no matter how much you try to ignore it. That ache isn't a flaw. It's direction. It's a compass needle buried under layers of distraction and fear. And tonight, under this lunar Jupiterian alignment, it points to truth with clarity you can't pretend not to feel. You may experience it emotionally. A longing, a sadness, a burst of inspiration so strong it takes your breath away. You might feel it physically. Fatigue giving way to energy, restlessness turning into purpose. You might feel an old version of yourself breaking open so that something truer can take its place. Whatever it looks like, it's not random. This is a direct response to the expansion of the moon's emotional frequency under the lens of Jupiter's magnification. You are not being pressured to figure it all out. You are being offered the grace to be honest, to admit what's no longer working, to confess what you've outgrown, to reclaim the parts of you that never fit into the world's expectations, but always fit perfectly into your own soul's design. That design is ancient. It didn't begin with your name, your job, your story. It began with the stardust that formed you. And now, those stars are reminding you of it. Beneath the bigness of this energy is a whisper. You already know what you need. You've always known, but knowing and choosing are not the same. Tonight asks you to choose whether your beliefs will serve your evolution or sabotage it, whether your thoughts will nurture your becoming or bind you to your past, whether you will plant seeds in fear or in faith. And no one can do that for you. This alignment won't stay forever. It is a window, a narrow space in time where truth becomes louder than habit and desire becomes stronger than doubt. But you don't need to rush through it. You just need to sit with it. Let it rise, let it speak. Let it rearrange the architecture of your internal world until what you believe is no longer a story you inherited, but a truth you chose. When the moon crosses the Pleiades, the veil doesn't just thin, it breathes. What was once hidden becomes visible, if only for a flicker. The air changes, and something inside you recognizes it before your mind even has the words. This crossing is not merely a celestial event. It's a thinning of layers, between timelines, between versions of yourself, between worlds you thought you had left behind, and the ones you have not yet stepped into. The past is not back to haunt you. The future is not rushing in to overwhelm you. They're both simply present now, in the echo, and that echo is asking you to listen. This is why your dreams have grown heavier in recent nights, why they feel like messages you wake up trying to decipher, as if your soul is speaking in a language that your body is just beginning to remember. This is why your intuition is louder, why the same thought keeps returning, not as worry, but as invitation. You are not imagining it. You are remembering it, remembering something ancient, something buried under years of noise, performance, and pretending, something that was never really lost, just quiet, waiting for a moment like this to rise again, because this moment was not made for the surface. This is not the energy of action plans and productivity. This is the deep river beneath the river, the quiet within the chaos, the pulse of truth in the stillness. It's not about doing more, it's about becoming more present, not to the world around you, but to the world within you, the part of you that doesn't measure time by the clock, the part that speaks in signs, in symbols, in sensations that you feel in your chest before they ever become thought. Today is not a call to hustle. It is a call to awareness, and awareness requires stillness, not just physical stillness, but soul stillness, the kind of pause where you stop trying to fix, change, or control everything around you and instead start listening to the rhythm that's always been underneath. The energy you've been chasing, it's already here, but it never lived in the chaos. It never lived in the performance. It lives in the quiet, in the low, steady thrum of the earth beneath your feet, in the breath you take without trying to improve it, in the small voice inside, the one you used to trust before the world taught you to doubt it. And that voice, it's not weak, it's not naive, it's ancient, it's wise, it's tired of being ignored. And it's getting louder now, not because it's becoming stronger, but because you are finally becoming still enough to hear it again. You've been asking for signs, for alignment, for clarity, and now that it's here, the question becomes, will you slow down enough to receive it? Because this is not the kind of alignment that rewards effort. It rewards presence. It doesn't ask how hard you've been trying. It asks how deeply you're willing to be. Can you be here? Not halfway, fully. Can you soften into this moment without demanding a result from it? Can you stop performing long enough to let yourself actually feel? This is not easy. Stillness never is in a world addicted to movement. Silence feels foreign when you've been trained to fill it. But in this silence, something is speaking to you that your outer world cannot offer. It is the voice of the version of you that remembers. The version that never forgot your purpose, the one who isn't impressed by titles, deadlines, or followers, but who comes alive in the presence of truth, of beauty, of honesty. And that version of you is stirring right now. This stirring may feel uncomfortable. You might notice an inner tension between the part of you that wants to rest and the part that feels guilty for not doing more. Between the part of you that longs to slow down and the part that fears what will surface if you actually do. That tension is not failure. It's the space between who you've had to be and who you truly are. It's the friction of transformation, and if you can stay with it, not escape it, you will begin to hear what your soul has been trying to tell you for far too long. Can you be still long enough to hear it? Can you sit in your own presence without needing to justify it? Can you admit, even just to yourself, that the things you've been pouring your energy into might no longer nourish you? That the life you've been working so hard to hold together might not actually be the one you want to return to? That your worth was never meant to be proven, only remembered? Because the moon, in crossing the Pleiades, is not demanding your brilliance. It is reminding you of it. Not the loud kind, not the external kind. The kind that lives in your knowing, in your capacity to feel what others miss, in your courage to tell the truth about what is no longer sustainable, no matter how safe it once felt. That is presence. That is power. This is the medicine of this moment. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming someone honest. About letting go of the performance and letting yourself be seen, first and foremost, by you. This isn't the kind of astrology that entertains. This is the kind that transforms, that strips away everything that was built on the need for approval and returns you to the essence that never needed to prove anything. And maybe that's the hardest part, realizing that stillness is not emptiness. It is wholeness, and in this wholeness, you begin to feel what actually matters, what actually lasts, what actually feeds the parts of you that have been starved for truth, for rest, for peace. You've been reaching outward for so long. This alignment asks you to return inward, not to escape, but to remember that the only thing you've ever really been searching for is you. The Taurus Moon is not interested in illusions. It does not support the scaffolding you've built around your identity to please others. It isn't here for your image. It's here for your substance. Taurus asks for what's real. It holds a mirror that doesn't flatter, but reflects with loyalty. If something doesn't stand up in silence, if it only lives when there is noise or applause, it doesn't belong here. This moon wants you to build, yes, but only from materials that are honest. Only from foundations that can hold you. No more patchwork, no more pretending, no more hollow victories. Only what is rooted can remain. And the Pleiades, those ancient star sisters, they aren't nostalgic for the past. They don't pull you backward just to feel something old. They summon memory as power. They ask you to remember, but only the truths that set you free. Only the wisdoms that were buried under roles, expectations and timelines that never belonged to you. The Pleiades carry a frequency of sacred return, not a return to who you were before the world shaped you, but a return to what has always been true beneath the shaping. The you that existed before adaptation, the you that breathed freely before compression, the you that doesn't ask for permission to be whole. And then there's Jupiter, mighty Jupiter, the one who never asks small questions. The one who arrives not to nudge you, but to call you out of your own shrinking. It doesn't want you to grow for the sake of achievement. It wants you to grow past the stories that were never true, past the versions of yourself that were only meant to be temporary, past the quiet lies you've outgrown, the ones that said you were too much, too late, too uncertain. Jupiter says, expand, but not just outward, expand inward, into faith, into trust, into the possibility that you were never supposed to fit into the mold that was handed to you. So if today feels quiet, it's not emptiness, it's invitation. The universe is whispering in a language that can only be heard when everything else goes silent. It's asking you to lean in, to listen with something other than your ears. It's communicating in sensation, in emotion, in the deep thrum of your own nervous system. You're not being ignored by the cosmos. You're being spoken to in the most sacred way possible, directly, softly, and deeply. And if today feels heavy, it's because you're carrying what no longer matches your vibration. Energetic weight doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it's the subtle fatigue you feel around certain people, the tension in your jaw when you agree to things you don't actually want, the mental looping that drains your spirit. These are not just bad habits or off days. They are signs, indicators that the energy you've been carrying is outdated, expired, not yours anymore. You don't need to fight it, you just need to notice it and choose differently. This heaviness isn't punishment, it's clarity. It's the body speaking what the mind won't admit. It is your system trying to return to its natural state by releasing what was never meant to be permanent. The ache is real, but so is the release that follows when you finally say, enough. You don't have to carry what's not yours. You don't have to keep living a story that drains you. The moon, the stars, the cosmos, they're not asking you to be more. They're asking you to be honest. And if today feels unfamiliar, if things feel unsteady or surreal, it's because your future self is no longer just a vision. They're becoming visible. You are beginning to feel the energy of the person you are becoming, and not in a vague, abstract sense, in your decisions, in your body, in your longing. That unfamiliar feeling, that's alignment arriving. That's the gap closing between who you were and who you're meant to be. And yes, it feels strange. Yes, it feels raw. You're meeting a version of yourself that is more expansive, more empowered, more attuned. And it takes time to fully recognize them. But they are here, closer than ever. The version of you who trusts your intuition without needing validation. The one who creates not to impress, but to express. The one who doesn't rush healing, but honors every part of the process. The one who doesn't abandon themselves when things get quiet or messy or slow. That version isn't waiting for you in the distance. They're arriving through you, with every thought you realign, with every energy you release, with every moment you choose truth over comfort. You don't need to force this. You don't need to have it all figured out. The moon doesn't bloom in one night. The earth doesn't demand answers from the seed before it grows. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're in a threshold between the story that taught you how to survive and the one that's finally safe enough to let you thrive. And all the sky is asking right now is that you notice it, that you trust it, that you let yourself be met by the moment instead of trying to perform your way through it. This day isn't about doing more, it's about feeling more. It's about coming back into contact with the pulse of your own life, uninterrupted. It's about the breath you haven't been taking, the truth you haven't been speaking, the dream you've edited down to make it fit into other people's comfort zones. The alignment of the Taurus Moon, the passage through the Pleiades, and the expansion of Jupiter. It's not chaos, it's choreography. And your only job is to show up for the dance. Let your thoughts slow down. Let your breath deepen. Let yourself meet this energy with reverence, not resistance. The changes you're sensing are not random. They're responsive. They are reflections of what's already shifting inside you. You don't need to rush toward the future. It's meeting you halfway. And the only thing you need to bring is your full, honest self. This isn't just a cosmic moment. It's not another astrological update to scroll past or file away in your mind. This is an invitation, not just from the stars, but from your own soul, to root deeper than you ever have, to stop living from the surface of things, to no longer be swayed by temporary winds or fleeting noise. The Taurus Moon doesn't ask you to go higher before you go lower. It asks you to drop into your own gravity, to trust the ground beneath you, not because it always feels comfortable, but because it's always been real. This is the kind of energy that humbles and empowers you at the same time. It doesn't hype you up with empty promises. It clears space so that what's already true can finally breathe. So that your truth, raw, unedited, unfiltered, can rise from underneath everything that buried it. And as it rises, something incredible happens. The stillness you once feared becomes sacred. The silence you once avoided becomes rich with guidance. You stop needing to be loud to be clear. You stop needing to be certain to move forward. You begin to understand that peace was never outside you. It was waiting beneath your resistance. This moment is about choosing presence over performance, trust over control, faith over familiarity. The universe isn't demanding action from you today. It's asking you to return to the part of you that remembers what it feels like to be aligned, not because you were doing everything right, but because you've stopped abandoning yourself. That's the alignment you've been craving, and it begins not with a leap, but with a breath, with a quiet yes to the truth that's been waiting for your permission to exist. Let the moon guide you home. Home is not a place on a map. It's a rhythm, a resonance, a return to your natural frequency, a space where you no longer feel the need to prove your worth because you finally remember that you are worthy by design, that your value was never conditional, that your becoming isn't late, it's divine. The moon holds your emotions not as problems to fix, but as messengers. And tonight, those messengers are whispering louder than ever that it's safe to come back to yourself. Let the Pleiades awaken what you thought you'd lost. Let their ancient frequencies stir the memory locked in your bones. The memory of joy before survival. The memory of wholeness before fragmentation. You don't need to decode their message with your mind. You only need to let your body feel it, the grief, the awe, the tenderness. It all belongs. It's not here to weaken you. It's here to remind you that feeling deeply isn't the opposite of strength. It is the evidence of it. Let Jupiter remind you that your expansion will never come through bypassing pain. Real growth doesn't avoid the shadows. It walks through them. Not with fear, but with trust. Jupiter doesn't promise ease, it promises meaning, and meaning is forged in moments like this, when everything slows down just enough for you to see what actually matters. When you stop chasing timelines and start creating from truth. When you finally understand that every detour was part of the path, and every delay was a lesson in trust, not punishment. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not late. You are unfolding, not all at once, but beautifully, intentionally, naturally. And in this unfolding, you don't have to rush to meet some future version of yourself. That version is already arriving through you, in every honest breath, in every conscious choice, in every act of self-loyalty. The alignment isn't out there, it's here, it's now. And the only thing it asks of you is to show up for it with your whole self. This energy doesn't need you to be more spiritual. It doesn't need you to explain yourself. It just wants you to be honest, to let the truth of your body, your emotions, your intuition take up space again, to let your softness lead, to let your silence speak, to let your path unfold without force. What if everything you've been striving for begins to take shape the moment you stop striving and start allowing? What if the clarity you've been begging for isn't something to find, but something to feel? Because the space between stars has never been empty. It's a map, not one that shows you where you have been, but one that whispers where you were meant to go. And that map doesn't unfold through certainty. It reveals itself through trust, through alignment, through the decision to walk in resonance with your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. And that's what this moment really is, a sacred threshold, not just a cosmic window, but a personal reckoning. Not a finish line, but a beginning. The kind that doesn't need fireworks to be real, the kind that starts in the quiet decision to live a little more honestly, to move a little more intuitively, to choose yourself, not out of rebellion, but out of remembrance. So let the moon lead you into presence. Let the Pleiades sing to your spirit until you remember how sacred your journey really is. Let Jupiter expand the parts of you that no longer wish to shrink. And most of all, let this day be the day you stopped chasing alignment and started embodying it. Let this be the day you finally came home,